Hey everyone, it's Andrew from MAO Magic, and I'm here with the second generation Griffin 20. This is basically a digital audio amp. It gets its name because it has 20 watts per channel of output on the two speaker outputs it has, as well as the subwoofer. It's got that on there as well. Input-wise, you can go to Bluetooth, which is using Bluetooth 3.0 plus EDR, as well as the digital optical Toslink connector there in the back. Now, I'm sure most people are probably going to use that the Bluetooth option, which is much more improved over the last generation. Last generation, you needed like an Airport Express to plug into here, or the optical, I guess. But now, with the new one, you don't need to have the Airport. You can actually simply use Bluetooth, which will work for anyone, not just all those people on iOS. Using Bluetooth, you'll have about a 30-foot range, which is probably a little bit less than anywhere on your network on the last generation, but I think that is a worthy trade-off. When you open the box itself, you're going to get a little manual, the actual unit itself, and another box containing a few different cables that they're going to throw in. Now, the first thing I was really surprised by when I saw the second generation is it looks a lot better. And I didn't think the last generation looked bad at all, but I really like how minimalistic and kind of retro this new model looks. It's also quite a bit heavier. Now, as I mentioned, they're going to throw in a couple of cables. You have the power cable, obviously, but what was really nice is they actually included that digital optical Toslink cable as well. So if you do want to hook this up, you don't have to use that Bluetooth. You can actually still use an Airport Express. There's an optical on the back of that. You can plug that directly into the Griffin 20 so you can maintain your old system setup how you had it, or you can plug it directly into your receiver or your TV, most of which have those optical outputs. On the top of the unit, there will be an aluminum volume knob. It is very nice. It has a very smooth movement to it. There's no longer a label of where is high and low, so you're just going to have to kind of know to the right is higher, to the left is lower. On the back, you'll see all of our inputs here. On the left-hand side of that optical Toslink, the subwoofer output, those left and right speakers, and the power all the way on the far right. On the flip side of this, you'll notice is a little bit raised. It actually kind of looks like the bottom where it has like that volume knob here on the side, but then it actually is just a foot along with that rubber bar on the left-hand side, which allows all these vents to breathe. So this is a little bit heavier. It is a little bit more advanced on the last generation unit, so it needs a little bit more room for all that air to pass through, just like any normal receiver or amplifier would. Now, if we look at the last generation unit, it looks kind of dated, especially compared to the first or compared to the second one here. And the first one was so unfortunately timed because they announced the original one pretty much at the same time as Apple announced they were getting rid of the other Airport Extreme or Airport Express and came out with the one that doesn't have that built-in adapter on it. So you can't plug this old puck-like or the new puck-like one into here, which was really nice because you could just plug your Airport Express right into the top. It would power your Airport Express and power your speakers all at once. It was a very handy little unit, but they came out with the new version of the Airport Express. It no longer plugged in, and that was a big downside to the old one because you had to plug it in separately and plug it in. But they both have volume knobs there on the top. The old one had a power button on the back side. The new one has it on the front side right below the volume knob itself. The light is in a much better location. It kind of glows underneath compared to a really bright light that came out of the front of the last one. So that's been much improved. The speaker terminals here, the wire terminals, they used to be push pin. They are no longer push pin, which is maybe good or bad depending on the person. I kind of prefer the push ones because they're a little bit easier to use, but a lot of people have like the alligator clips are the ones that'll push right into the back of those, which now work on the newer generation model. So if you're hooking this up to your actual receiver or sound system, you may have those wires already in place and prefer more standardized speaker wire terminals. Now, however familiar you are with amplifiers or Bluetooth speakers or receivers, they can be quite a pain. Luckily, the Griffin 20 is super simple to set up. You essentially just plug in your wires right into the back, so any of those good old speakers they have around, I have a pair of Klipsch bookshelf speakers that sound absolutely amazing and what I used for the last generation model, so I'm going to use those with this one here. You simply plug your speaker in the back and turn it on. You are good to go. You can simply hop into your iPhone, iPad, or any other device that you're going to use this with. You're going to jump right into the Bluetooth settings. It'll automatically try to pair, so go down to the bottom of your list and you'll see Griffin 20 will pop up on the menu. On an iOS device, you can go into that one individually and you can forget or remove that device itself. But once you're hooked up to it, that's it. There's no other setup you need to do. There's no apps, no settings, no menus, nothing to do except for go into your music and play something. So we have the new Elvis Costello album here, simply choosing that AirPlay option in that bottom right hand corner, and I have any of my Apple TVs or my new Griffin 20. So, as we always do, let's go ahead and break down between the pros and the cons for the new second generation Griffin 20 digital audio amplifier. So on the pro side, you don't need an Airport Express. You can do it completely without it and just go with Bluetooth. However, if you do want to use that Airport Express, you maybe get more range, or you prefer the AirPlay option, you can simply use that continuously. You also have the option for Bluetooth now, which means it's not just for iOS people, it's anyone who has a smart device or a laptop that can play audio through the new Griffin 20, and that includes, we now have the option for optical. Well, we had that previously, but now you can plug it directly into the Apple TVs, your television, your receivers. This can replace any really expensive fancy receiver you may have if you don't really have a complicated setup that you need to manage inputs with. The build quality is fantastic. It is very heavy, it feels very solid, and it has that great retro look to it. And lastly, the light placement is much improved. It glows subtly underneath and it looks really nice. It's much better than the bright light that was on the front of the last generation model. Now, we don't cover just the pros, but we're also going to take a look at the cons, and there are a few of them. You do have those screw-in wire terminals on the back, so if you prefer the punch pin ones because they're easier, unfortunately, you're out of luck. It has still a front light. It's not nearly as glaring as the last generation was, but it still has somewhat of a front light. When it's powered on, you'll see it on there, and when it's connected and playing. And unfortunately, it still only has 2 speakers plus a subwoofer. So if you want like a full 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound, you're kind of out of luck. This is going to be a much simpler setup, but for $150, it's not nearly as expensive as one of those big fancy receivers that a lot of people put into their homes. So only 2 speaker outputs. So if you're interested in picking up one of the fantastic Griffin 20s for you or a friend, you can find the link in the description below. Please subscribe so I can keep these videos coming. Check out my website, maomagic.com. If you have any questions, throw them up in the comments. Otherwise, I guess that's it, and I'll see you next time.